There comes a moment in every believer's journey when the unseen becomes undeniable, when the spiritual pressure around your life refuses to stay silent. Some of you have been battling storms that didn't start with your own hands. You've been fighting thoughts that aren't yours, wrestling emotions that don't belong to you, carrying weights you were never assigned to carry. And deep down, you've wondered if the warfare surrounding you has a name, a face, a source. Today, truth is stepping into the room, not to stir fear, but to awaken discernment, not to magnify darkness, but to empower you to recognize it, confront it, and rise above it. Because when you understand what's been fighting you, you stop misdiagnosing the attack and start reclaiming your authority. This message is for the one who has felt drained without cause, resisted without reason, opposed without explanation. It is time to shine a light on the hidden operations working against your destiny. Expose what's been trying to silence your purpose and take back dominion over every area of your life. You are not powerless. You are not uncovered. You are not walking blindly. And after today, you will not walk unaware. It is time to uncover the signs, reclaim your strength, and rise into the fullness of who you were created to be. There are times when the weariness you feel is not the type that comes from working long hours or carrying physical responsibilities. It is a weariness that sinks deeper than the body and settles into the spirit. It drains motivation, dims passion, and interrupts focus. This kind of exhaustion doesn't respond to sleep, doesn't lift after rest, and doesn't ease even when circumstances improve. It follows you, shadows you, and lingers in a way that makes you question yourself. This is often one of the first signs that the resistance you're facing is not natural, but spiritual. When a targeted attack is sent against a person, the pressure often manifests as fatigue that seems disproportionate to their daily life. You wake up tired. You push through the day tired. You lie down tired. And deep inside, you can feel something pressing against your momentum. It is the sensation of being spiritually pulled on, spiritually watched, or spiritually opposed. The exhaustion is meant to weaken your resolve so that you surrender territory without realizing it. It is sent to make you second-guess your purpose, delay your assignments, and reduce your intensity. It aims to make you settle for surviving instead of advancing. Many people overlook this sign because they assume they are simply overwhelmed or emotionally strained, but the spiritual realm often shows up in subtle ways before it shows up in obvious ones. When someone is intentionally working against your progress, their intention seeks expression through the atmosphere around your life. You suddenly feel heavy for no identifiable reason. You feel mentally foggy when you try to pray or focus. You feel your energy dip when you move toward your purpose, yet strangely steady when you move away from it. That contrast is a clue. True spiritual exhaustion doesn't just make you tired, it makes you tired in specific areas. You are drained the most in the places where you are called the highest. You are tired the moment you start improving, awakening, or elevating. You feel resistance at the very edge of breakthrough. The heaviness comes with subtle patterns, like sudden discouragement right before new opportunities, or mental pressure right when clarity is needed most. When exhaustion appears without a cause, persists without a pattern, and intensifies without a trigger, it is not random. It signals that something or someone has identified your potential, marked your momentum, and is working to hinder what you are becoming. Distractions are rarely accidental when you are stepping into a new dimension of purpose. They often show up at the exact moment when clarity is forming, when focus is sharpening, or when you are finally aligning with what you were meant to do. These distractions don't always announce themselves loudly. Sometimes they slip in quietly, disguised as harmless interruptions, minor inconveniences, or sudden emotional shifts that pull your attention away from what truly matters. When a person is intentionally working against your progress, one of the most common tactics is to scatter your focus. They don't need to stop you completely. They only need to divert you long enough for momentum to break. Purpose grows through consistency, and distractions sabotage consistency, one small detour at a time. You begin your day with intention, but your spirit feels pulled in 5 different directions. You sit down to work, but your mind becomes clouded with unnecessary concerns. You attempt to pray, but your thoughts wander into places that drain your peace instead of feeding it. These distractions may appear ordinary, but they carry a spiritual weight that feels disproportionate to their size. Sometimes the distraction takes the form of sudden conflict. People who were previously calm begin acting out of character. Small disagreements escalate quickly. Emotional triggers rise unexpectedly. These moments are not random. They are strategically timed to shift your attention from clarity to confusion. The goal is not just to occupy your time, but to occupy your mind. Because if the enemy can disrupt your focus, he can disrupt your progress. And if someone is intentionally speaking or acting against your destiny, the atmosphere around you often reflects their intention through these subtle diversions. Other distractions come as unexpected responsibilities that feel urgent but lack true importance. You feel pressured to respond to everyone's needs, to fix things that are not yours to fix, or to carry weights that were never assigned to you. This kind of distraction is designed to drain your emotional bandwidth so that you have nothing left to pour into your purpose. When your focus is fragmented, your spirit becomes unsettled. You feel busy but unproductive. You feel active but not aligned. You feel present but not progressing. These are indicators that something is pulling on your attention spiritually. The most revealing sign is when distractions appear specifically in the areas where breakthrough is closest. The moment you commit to growth, resistance rises. The moment you pursue healing, chaos increases. The moment you step toward purpose, something tries to pull you away. Distractions that consistently appear at the edge of your advancement are not coincidences. They are signals that your progress threatens someone spiritually, and that your purpose is stirring forces that do not want to see you rise. There are moments in life when you begin to elevate, grow, or step into a deeper version of who you are, and suddenly the behavior of certain people around you starts to shift. These shifts are not always loud or obvious. Sometimes they are quiet, subtle, and unnerving. You notice changes in tone, energy, and presence. Someone who was once supportive becomes distant. Someone who once celebrated you now avoids your victories. Someone who acted like an ally begins responding with irritation or tension when you talk about your goals. These shifts are not random, and they often reveal more spiritually than they do naturally. When your destiny elevates, the spiritual environment around you exposes who cannot handle the weight of who you are becoming. There are individuals whose connection to you was never rooted in love or respect, but in comfort, control, or familiarity. The moment you start rising above an old version of yourself, they feel threatened by the new version emerging. And when a person carries jealousy, resentment, competitiveness, or hidden ill intentions, your elevation disrupts whatever agreement their spirit made with your stagnation. You begin to notice that their mood changes around your progress. Their energy shifts when you speak about growth. Their compliments come with undertones that don't match their words. Spiritual opposition often reveals itself through these relational changes, because a heart that has become a doorway for negative intentions cannot remain neutral when your light starts increasing. Sometimes the shift shows up in the form of sudden criticism. The same actions they once supported they now question. The decisions they praised before, they now judge. They begin pointing out your flaws more than your strengths, highlighting your mistakes more than your progress. This change in behavior is not merely personality-based. It is spiritual dissonance. Your elevation agitates the parts of them that were comfortable with your limitations. When someone is spiritually aligned with your stagnation, they cannot celebrate your expansion. Their discomfort is a sign that your destiny is awakening something they hoped would remain dormant. Other times, the shift appears through withdrawal. People who once checked on you regularly suddenly stop calling. Their warmth cools, their interest fades, their presence becomes inconsistent. It feels as if they are pulling away without explanation, and you sense that it has little to do with you and everything to do with what you carry. When someone is harboring negative spiritual intentions, your rising energy becomes unbearable for them. Your growth disrupts whatever influence they once had. Your clarity exposes the motives they tried to keep hidden. Your elevation brings a light that makes their spiritual position uncomfortable. Then there are those who become unusually curious or overly involved the moment you start progressing. Instead of supporting your growth, they attempt to monitor it. They ask probing questions. They want access to your process, but not to your well-being. Their interest feels invasive rather than caring. This reveals a spiritual agenda disguised as concern. Discernment becomes crucial here, because not everyone who draws close during your elevation comes with pure intentions. When relationships shift, specifically at the moment your destiny begins to rise, it is rarely accidental. These changes serve as spiritual indicators, revealing who is aligned with your purpose and who is agitated by it. The behavior of people often exposes the presence of unseen opposition long before the opposition becomes visible. There are moments when you can feel that something has shifted around you, not because someone said anything outright, but because the atmosphere of your emotions begins to change without a natural explanation. Words carry power, and when someone speaks against you, whether in resentment, jealousy, anger, or intentional harm, those words create an atmosphere that your spirit can often feel long before your mind understands what is happening. You wake up feeling a heaviness that wasn't there the night before. You enter a room and your peace suddenly feels disrupted. You go about your day, and without warning, discouragement tries to settle into places where confidence previously lived. These emotional shifts do not always originate from your own heart. Sometimes they are the echo of words spoken against your life. When someone carries negative thoughts, intentions, or declarations toward you, their words and energy produce a vibration in the spiritual realm. You may not hear those words with your physical ears, but your spirit often recognizes the impact. This is why there are times when you feel sadness that doesn't belong to you, irritation that seems misplaced, or fear that arrives without reason. These emotions are not arising from your own internal world, but are being projected toward you. The emotional atmosphere around your life begins to feel different, heavier, or more unstable, and you sense that something or someone is influencing the environment surrounding your soul. Sometimes this shift shows up as sudden anxiety. You are functioning normally, and then without any trigger, your chest feels tight, your thoughts feel pressured, or your peace feels interrupted. This is not the kind of anxiety that comes from stress or worry, but the type that feels sent. It appears quickly and without context. It fades just as strangely as it came. It feels foreign, unfamiliar, and almost external. This is often a sign that someone has released words that carry weight in the spiritual realm, and those words are attempting to attach to your emotional space. Other times, the shift manifests as irritation or emotional sensitivity that seems out of character. Simple things feel heavier than they should. Small inconveniences provoke stronger reactions. You feel easily overwhelmed by things that normally wouldn't affect you. This emotional imbalance is not always rooted in personal issues. It can be the residue of negative declarations that are trying to disrupt your equilibrium. When someone speaks against your peace, peace is the first thing that becomes disturbed. When someone speaks against your joy, joy becomes the target. When someone speaks against your clarity, confusion tries to rise. There are also moments when discouragement comes suddenly, even in seasons where everything is going well. You find yourself questioning your worth, doubting your progress, or feeling disconnected from your purpose. These emotional shifts are often spiritual indicators that someone has sent out words carrying division or negativity. You may not know who said what, but your spirit senses the impact, because your spirit is designed to detect what the natural mind overlooks. When your emotions begin to shift without a cause, when the emotional climate around you feels altered for no logical reason, it is often a sign that words have been spoken over your life that were never meant for your good. These shifts become signals that something in the unseen realm has been activated, revealing that someone's words have targeted your peace, your stability, and your emotional atmosphere. There are seasons when life begins repeating the same frustrations, the same losses, the same disappointments, with a level of precision that feels too calculated to be coincidence. You move forward only to be pulled backward. You start progressing, and suddenly something breaks, delays, or collapses. You take 2 steps ahead, and something forces you 3 steps back. When setbacks form a pattern that mirrors itself over and over again, especially at critical moments of advancement, it often signals that what you are facing is not a natural challenge, but a spiritual interference designed to interrupt your momentum. Cycles do not form on their own. Cycles reveal influence. And when those cycles appear with timing that feels targeted, you are often looking at a sign that someone has intentionally or unintentionally spoken or acted against your elevation. These patterns usually begin subtly. A breakthrough approaches, and right before it manifests, something always happens. An opportunity arrives, and something suddenly undermines it. You feel excitement about a new direction, and an unexpected obstacle immediately emerges. The repetition of setbacks is not just inconvenient, it is informative. It reveals that the resistance is not random. It is following your progress. It is tracking your growth. It is responding to your elevation as if your success threatens something in the unseen realm. When someone carries ill intentions, envy, bitterness, or hidden spiritual influence toward you, those emotions and energies often manifest as interruptions that mirror each other with uncanny precision. Sometimes the cycle affects your relationships. Every time you form a meaningful connection, something turns sour. Every time you get close to someone beneficial to your destiny, miscommunication arises. Every time you find stability, conflict appears out of nowhere. This repeated breakdown is often a sign that someone's negative energy or spoken word is working to isolate you, hinder supportive connections, or keep you emotionally vulnerable. The cycle exposes that the disruption is not born out of circumstance, but out of spiritual intention. Other times, the cycle affects your finances. Money arrives and unexpectedly disappears due to emergencies or sudden needs. Opportunities that should increase your income dissolve without explanation. The moment you get ahead, an issue arises that forces you backward again. When financial cycles repeat with such precision, it is often a sign that something or someone is working against your ability to establish stability. The pattern reveals interference that does not want to see you empowered or independent. Cycles can also appear in your health, your motivation, your mindset, or your spiritual life. You want to pray, and suddenly distraction intensifies. You gain clarity, and suddenly confusion hits. You begin building discipline, and suddenly the desire dries up. The cycle always attacks at the point of your progress. It never interferes when you are stagnant, because the goal is not to stop you from existing, but to stop you from advancing. That is why these cycles feel synchronized with your purpose. They activate whenever you step into alignment with destiny. When setbacks arrive with rhythm, timing, and repetition, when they mirror themselves season after season and appear strategically at the edge of breakthrough, it becomes clear that these are not random challenges. They are signs that something or someone is spiritually invested in limiting your movement, hindering your growth, and keeping you from the next level you were designed to walk into. There are moments when clarity once flowed easily, when you could discern your next step, hear your inner guidance, or sense the direction you were meant to take. But suddenly that clarity becomes clouded. Thoughts that were once organized feel scattered. Decisions that were once simple feel overwhelming. Paths that were once obvious now feel foggy. This kind of confusion is not always internal. Sometimes it is the result of external spiritual interference. When someone is working against you, whether through intentions, emotions, or spoken words, the first place it often hits is your clarity. Confusion becomes the smokescreen that tries to separate you from your discernment. It doesn't feel like simple indecision. It feels like something is scrambling your sense of direction. You may find yourself second-guessing every thought. You question choices you once felt secure in. You lose confidence in your instincts. Your mind begins looping over the same concerns without resolution. This mental fog is not merely the product of stress or distraction. It is often a sign that someone's negative intention or spiritual posture is interfering with your clarity. Confusion is one of the most common manifestations of spiritual opposition because it weakens your ability to move boldly. When your clarity is compromised, your progress slows. When your judgment is impaired, your decisions become cautious. The interference is designed to keep you from stepping fully into your purpose. There are times when this confusion appears suddenly. One moment you feel aligned, and the next you feel mentally disoriented without reason. You try to focus, but your thoughts drift. You attempt to pray, but your mind jumps from one place to another. You try to plan, and everything feels overwhelming. This sudden confusion often reveals that something has shifted spiritually. It feels like someone has pushed against your mental space, attempting to distort your perception or cloud your understanding. You sense that the confusion is not yours, as if it has been placed on you rather than rising from within you. Sometimes the confusion appears specifically in areas connected to your purpose. You might feel clear about everything else, yet when you try to think about your assignment, your vision, your goals, or your next step, the fog thickens. Ideas slip away. Inspiration dries up. Motivation weakens. This targeted confusion is a sign that someone is spiritually uncomfortable with your direction and that their spiritual output is trying to interfere with your alignment. The confusion becomes strongest where your purpose is strongest because the attack is not random. It is intentional. Other times, the confusion shows up through conflicting emotions. You want to move forward but feel hesitation. You want to take action but feel paralyzed. You know what you desire but feel disconnected from it. This emotional confusion is another layer of the spiritual interference meant to keep your heart and mind out of agreement. When your feelings contradict your clarity, your movement becomes compromised. Confusion creates spiritual static, making it harder to hear the guidance you once recognized easily. There are also moments when confusion comes after you share your plans with someone. You were clear before the conversation, but afterward you feel uncertain, disoriented, or doubtful. Their intentions, whether hidden envy, spiritual opposition, or emotional negativity, affect your clarity without them saying anything openly. Spiritual interference often transfers through proximity and conversation, revealing itself through the sudden loss of mental peace. When confusion rises without cause, when clarity disappears without explanation, and when your mind becomes foggy at the exact place where you were gaining direction, it is often a sign that someone is spiritually influencing your mental space. trying to disrupt your focus and weaken your discernment. There are moments when your dreams begin to carry messages that feel heavier than usual, more vivid than normal, or strangely repetitive in ways that grab your attention. Dreams have always been one of the clearest places where the spiritual realm reveals what is happening beneath the surface. When you are spiritually under pressure, or when someone is intentionally or unintentionally directing negative energy toward you, your dreams often become the arena where warnings, signals, and symbols appear long before anything shows up in the natural. You may begin noticing that your dreams shift from random imagery to patterns that seem to highlight a theme. Something in your spirit recognizes the difference immediately. It feels like the dream is not simply a dream, but a communication, an alert, a disclosure of something your conscious mind has not yet understood. Sometimes these dreams come with repeated symbols. You see snakes, shadows, storms, or figures that feel threatening. These are not just ordinary dreams, they reflect spiritual interference. Your spirit is trying to show you what your natural eyes cannot yet see. You wake up feeling unsettled, as if your dream carried weight. The images linger longer than usual. The emotions from the dream stay with you throughout the day. Your intuition tells you that the dream meant something, even if you can't explain it logically. This shift in your dream life often reveals that something in the unseen realm has been activated, and your spirit is picking up on the intentions directed toward you. Other times, the dreams come in the form of repeated scenarios. You find yourself dreaming the same situation multiple times, sometimes changing details but keeping the same outcome. Each version feels like a message being resent because the first one was ignored. You may dream of being chased, blocked, delayed, or watched. These are common indicators that someone's energy or spiritual posture toward you is not pure. Your spirit recognizes the interference and uses your dreams to communicate the presence of opposition. These dreams do not come from fear, they come from discernment. There are also dreams where certain people appear consistently, especially people you have been unsure about or people whose behavior has recently changed. When an individual repeatedly shows up in dreams involving conflict, pressure, or discomfort, it is often a sign that your spirit is sensing something about them that your mind has not yet fully acknowledged. The dream is not telling you to fear them, but to be aware, to pay attention, to observe their intentions more closely. The spiritual realm often reveals the heart of a person long before their actions expose it, and dreams become the canvas where that revelation unfolds. Sometimes the dreams are not threatening but symbolic. You may dream of broken objects, closed doors, blocked paths, or lost items. These symbols are often tied to your destiny, indicating that something or someone is attempting to interfere with your progress. The symbols highlight areas that require spiritual protection. You may also dream of sudden darkness falling, familiar places appearing unfamiliar, or your voice being silenced. These dreams point toward emotional or spiritual manipulation from an unseen source. They reveal the presence of someone attempting to influence your path through negative energy, jealousy, resentment, or direct spiritual activity. Then there are dreams that feel like warnings. You wake up with a sense that you must be cautious, more discerning, or more spiritually guarded. These dreams do not bring fear, they bring clarity. They sharpen your awareness of what is happening around you. They alert you to conversations you should avoid, people you should observe more carefully, or decisions you must delay. These dreams are protective, guiding you away from entanglements that are not in your best interest. They help you recognize the subtle operations of those who may be working against your progress. At times, your dreams may reveal victory rather than attack. You may see yourself overcoming obstacles, breaking free from restraints, or fighting off forces that tried to hinder you. These dreams signify that your spirit is strong, that your inner warrior is rising, and that even though someone may be attempting to influence your path negatively, their efforts are being resisted in the spiritual realm. Dreams like these do not indicate that the attack is absent. They indicate that the attack is being defeated. You may also notice that these dreams come during seasons when you are growing, elevating, healing, or stepping into a stronger sense of identity. Spiritual opposition often intensifies when destiny activates. Dreams become one of the first indicators because your spirit does not sleep. It remains aware even when your body rests. When negative intentions are directed toward you, your spirit perceives them and warns you through imagery, symbols, and narratives designed to alert your soul. When your dreams shift in tone, frequency, or symbolism, when they begin communicating messages with consistency and depth, when they repeat patterns that feel intentional, it is often a sign that your spirit is detecting spiritual interference from someone whose intentions toward you are not aligned with your well-being. These dreams become signals, guiding you to pay attention to what is happening around you, spiritually, emotionally, and relationally.